Wet ball, welcome in to Clippers talk.
Here we go, Clips fans.
Clippers talk with Adam Osland. After every game, download every pod. Clippers talks the name. He's a basketball talking golden god.
New episodes after every game on demand.
Follow Clippers Talk wherever you get your podcasts.
Clippers.
It is Clippers talk. I'm sorry I've been gone for a little bit. Coming up here on the show, we'll review the new City Edition uniform leaks, and you'll hear the latest Kawhi catchphrase. Plus, I'll tell you about my new favorite album. But first, well, it ain't Big Boy or Big Country or Big Worm or Big Perm or even Mr. Big from Sex and the City. It's Big Waz from The Ringer and the Waz Speaks podcast. It's Wozni Lamray joining us here on Clippers Talk. What's up, Big Waz? How you doing? It's good to have you in here.
I'm good, man. I'm chilling. I'm glad we got to finally make this happen. I know my schedule's been a little up and down this summer, but I'm happy to be on with you guys.
It's the off season. You deserve it. A little bit of downtime here. I appreciate you coming on. So the impetus of this, for people who don't know, Big Waz was on with Zach Lowe a couple of months ago and put things in the proper perspective, I believe, for what went down with the SGA trade. And this was coming about the time, if not after they won the championship or during the NBA Finals, where you spoke upon it. But I felt like you really framed it correctly. What happened in 2019 with the Clippers making the move to trade SGA to essentially get Kawhi and Paul George. And a lot of people are having revisionist history about this. So I wanted to clear things up and let you expand on just how it felt in 2019. I believe you were at Summer League when the trade went down.
Well, I mean, I got to go back to even before July, I would say February of Shea's rookie season. That's when I really started going to a bunch of Clipper games, home games at Staples. I think it was still Staples then. That would have been 2019. And, you know, you talk to a couple, or I would talk to a couple of people who worked for the Clippers who I knew, or talking to my Clippers beat guys who were like just a lot more plugged in with the management types and front office types and even the coaching staff. And, there was the sense that they all really liked Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And to the point, like Doc even really liked him because Doc was playing him. Doc doesn't play rookies. He hates rookies, infamously. Yeah. And so he was very well liked. And I distinctly remember this. I've said this on a bunch of podcasts, but I just remember this convo because it stuck with me because I'm 38 years old. And so the reference kind of stopped me in my tracks. And the guy was like, yo, we think he could be a Penny Hardaway. And, I'm like, man, I was a sentient being in 1995 when Penny Hardaway was kind of at the peak of his powers, right? 96. Like this guy was, 6'7" point guard, silky smooth, could shoot it, could pass it, was great in transition, like just an amazing player. And people in my generation like really idolized Penny. Like he was like, to a lot of people, one of the first next Michael Jordans. Like if you're my age, you remember around the time like Mike was transitioning out of the league, we put forth all of these guys that were supposed to be the next Mike, whether it was Grant Hill, whether it was Penny, later on maybe Vince Carter. Like there were all of these next Mikes until LeBron, where it actually finally made sense. But Penny was one of the first next Mikes. So like that's just context about why I was taken aback, because I was like, I like this kid. He's like fun and he's obviously got a lot of skill. And you could tell that he was, talking to people that this guy was like a maniacal worker. Like if you showed up pregame to every Clippers game, he was like working on stuff with Sam Cassell every single before every single game. Like you could just see like this guy was like super dedicated, but like a nice player. I thought it was kind of crazy that they said he could be another Penny Hardaway, whatever.
He averaged 10 points a game his rookie year. He was all rookie second team. We weren't talking about Luka Doncic type of rookie outings.
We weren't even talking about an Anthony Edwards type, or, if folks will remember Evan Mobley's rookie season, where people were already making the KG and Duncan comparisons, right? Because of how stout he was defensively as a rookie. Like there are rookies who have seasons where they might not make an all-star team or whatever, but they show and flash some things where people are like, wow, this is like, he's looking like a potential Hall of Famer. Nobody was saying that about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander after his rookie year. I mean, nobody, right? Like, because when you even think about his pedigree, he wasn't some top 3, top 5, top 6 pick, right? And so nobody thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to be an all-star, much less perennially finishing top 3 MVP when he's not outright winning it. And so the summertime comes, free agency starts up. I mean, I want to say pretty much by February of that year, I had already been hearing that Kawhi was going to end up with the Clippers, but the Lakers were also in contention because if people remember when he was trying to force his trade out of San Antonio, back in, I guess that would have been what, 2018.
Summer, yeah.
Yeah, it's 2018. Both Los Angeles teams were his preferred destination. So there was this, there was this idea that like everybody knew Kawhi was going to LA. Okay, cool. We all know that, but it came down to Kawhi either going to the Lakers or the Clippers. And then he finally makes the decision to sign with the Clippers. And then it's this double whammy where they also trade for Paul George, and everybody's mind is blown. And it's like, not only did they poach Kawhi Leonard from the Lakers, thereby, having Rob Pelinka and all these guys have egg on their face, they've also, engineered a different coup by bringing Paul George in, who, again, people will forget these details. Paul George finished 3rd in MVP that year. He was coming off the best season of his life.
He averaged 35 for almost 2 months.
So, I vividly remember this because I was around so many of our national and LA media people when the trade got executed, and everybody just knew this was one of the best trades they could have made. And not only just that, everybody was picking the Clippers to win the championship. There wasn't even a debate. It was the consent. The Clippers were the obvious number 1 with a bullet team after making that deal. Nobody was thinking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was barely, if ever, talked about. If anything, the only thing people talked about were those picks. That's
exactly.
They latched on to the huge amount of picks that the Thunder were able to extract from the Clippers for the Paul George deal. So when I hear people talking about, oh, who won the trade? Oh, the Clippers got fleeced. It's like, you guys are insane. And not only were they preseason favorites, before the pandemic started, basically, again, I was at probably 9% of those home games when that first Kawhi season before the NBA work stoppage. There was no doubt. Everybody, no matter who you're listening to on national NBA podcasts, who you're reading, who you're watching on TV, whether it be First Take or the like, or NBA Countdown or whatever you want, Skip Bayless and them, everybody thought the Clippers were going to win the championship that year. And by the way, it wasn't like people were stupid for thinking that. They looked incredible. They had executed a trade that made them the best team in the league, obviously. And Kawhi Leonard was looking like the best player in the league. And all the reporting that came out of it was like he leveraged the Lakers against the Clippers to say, look, I can't sign with you guys unless you execute this Paul George trade, which is another thing. It's like the Paul George trade didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened in Kawhi Leonard, finals MVP, coming off a goddamn finals MVP, telling you he's going to come to your team, but only if you trade for this guy. So basically, the Shai trade and the picks trade, it not only did it acquire Paul George, it got both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard functionally. So that's why, like, when I hear people talking shit about that trade, it just like as you guys can tell, like, I'm kind of just like, that's insane. I was there. I was alive. I was talking to people. I was consuming all of the NBA content. Everybody thought this was a no-brainer.
I heard the same stuff. I actually did a 3-hour show. I remember that day on the radio. I don't think I took a call of anyone lamenting the fact that they had to give up SGA. There were people that were like, but we did have to give up SGA. It wasn't nothing because we all felt like he had all-star potential. We weren't talking about all NBA first team. We weren't talking about him being a future MVP, the number one on a championship team. None of those things. Some people were bringing up Gallo, by the way. Danilo Gallinari being involved in that trade at times before they brought up Shea.
Right.
And the picks were huge. But I would put it like this, and you tell me if I'm wrong. To me, I see it as a good process trade that just didn't work out. Anytime you have a chance to get the reigning finals MVP in his prime and another guy in his prime that was top 3 in MVP, I think you have to make a move like that. Like, I just think if they get another chance, they do the same thing.
It was an excellent trade on the part of the Clippers. I don't even see how this is even up for debate, man. Like the quality of the team that they put together after executing that trade was top notch. Okay. Like there's just no two ways about it. And again, because I remember these things quite vividly, even if they would have kept Shea, right? And there's a reality about Kawhi's knee that existed even as they were executing the trade. This idea that there was a clear clock ticking with this guy's body, and that you were, of course, you want to win now mode. But like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I remember his first playoff series in the bubble against they were playing James Harden against the Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Shea was horrible that series. He was just terrible. Again, he's a second-year player. It's his first time in the playoffs. Like, I'm not gonna hold it against him, so to speak, but he was bad, right? Like he wasn't on the same planet of player that Paul George was for the next, at the very least, 2 years. And maybe by year 3, you could say of that deal, you could say, oh man, Shea's like one of the guys. Okay, cool. But like there was no way to think that this would be the outcome of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's career. Like no shot.
Yeah, especially because if he doesn't go through that particular franchise at that particular time with OKC and take his lumps in the playoffs and get the tutelage from CP3 that first year with OKC, yeah. I don't know if he ascends to this point anyways. Like there is a little bit of a domino effect of right place, right time, and the level of professionalism he has about him and the way he goes about things with how driven he is. Give him all the credit in the world. How far do you think OKC takes this now? Are they going to win 2 more, 3 more, 1 more? How many can they win moving forward in the next 5 years?
I mean, I think they're obviously in a great position. Presti has been pretty smart about how to manage the new NBA CBA reality, salary cap reality, where it's like, all right, we're going to pay the hell of our 3 young studs who are Shea and J-Dub and Chet. And then, we got a ton of draft picks that we're going to be using to eventually, when Caruso becomes too old or becomes potentially too expensive, move on from him, draft pick. Or, same with Hartenstein. At a certain point, we're going to move on from him, get a draft pick or whatever. Like they're going to be able to replenish the stockpile of talent via the draft. And, they have a great situation. Presti clearly has a vision. Is just one of the best talent evaluators. And I think he's one of the best sort of like, I guess vision is the word, man, like an understanding of a bigger picture and how certain pieces are going to fit into it. I think he set them up beautifully because we know like they're never going to pay for anything because that ownership group is so damn cheap. But I'm also somebody who I think people underestimate the human element of not just, J-Dub and Chet being sort of second bananas or whatever you want to call it, and the sort of diminishing returns of winning, honestly, after you keep doing it over and over again. I think the most glaring example of this is KD, where he wins 2 championships automatically, and they basically were guaranteed to win a 3rd one, but for major injuries to him and Klay Thompson. And he still was just like, I think there's more to this basketball thing that I'm doing than just wins and losses. Like these guys are human. And I think the kumbaya collegial atmosphere. Oh, it's a close team. Oh, we're doing the group interviews. Oh, we're so connected. Oh, we're holding each other's babies. Oh, like it's cute right now, but I think eventually human nature will set in, and I don't see this lasting in its current iteration in the way that it functions right now forever. But do I think they should be the favorites for next season's NBA championship? For sure. Like, could I see myself picking Houston or Denver in a Western Conference series? For sure. Right. I don't see them as this infallible juggernaut the way a lot of my contemporaries in NBA media do. I think they're excellent. I think they should be favored, but I do think they're more than vulnerable to be beaten. And they showed that a lot in the playoffs this year. Like they demonstrated.
Game 7 if Tyrese doesn't go down.
I mean, come on. And to a Pacers team that, let's face it, nobody thought was world beaters, right? And so, yeah, I think they're in a great position. They're going to compete from now until basically Shai Gilgeous-Alexander decides he doesn't want to be there anymore. They're going to compete. They're going to be right there every single year. How many championships? If I could predict, I'd probably, if you gave me an over-under of 3, I'd probably go under, to be honest. I just think there's so much volatility in the game, man. Like, it's like I get it. At times they made it look easy the way they blew guys – doors off in the playoffs and blew people off the court. But like, if the Denver and Indy series are any indication, like they can lose in the playoffs to good teams.
Big Waz from The Ringer is our guest here on Clippers Talk. So let's get back to the Clippers side of things. You mentioned Sam Presti and what a forward thinker he is, and he's brilliant. I also like the way the Clippers have aligned themselves under Lawrence Frank. And your boss or colleague and Bill Simmons was talking about the possibility of 2027 and them having all this money to spend. Maybe they go after Giannis Antetokounmpo should he become a free agent at that time. I kind of gave him some grief about that because I felt like it was a Johnny-come-lately take, and that we all knew within the Clippers 2 years ago they've been planning for 2027. It's been like this for a while. They kind of saw this coming with the new CBA and who's going to be available then. But how well and how set up do you think this franchise is to make another big splash while still being competitive right now currently?
I mean, people just got to understand that, like, Ballmer has completely changed the perception of the team in the sense that, like, they're a first-rate organization, whether that be practice facility, whether that be the new arena, just the amenities, the different amenities that are afforded to players as compared to different franchises and how they handle things. I think the infrastructure is just A1. I don't think that can be argued when it comes to the Clippers. And let's face it, Los Angeles is just an incredible market for NBA players in terms of its attractiveness. I've lived here for 8 years now. I always hate saying this in public and how it sounds, but I'm outside a decent amount. I run into these people a decent amount. There is an infrastructure and a culture in Los Angeles that is built to service the needs and the wants of very wealthy, very public people. And like, you can say whatever you want about cities like Memphis or New Orleans or Milwaukee or, some of these other markets that exist in the NBA, or OKC for that matter. I know people were pissed off when I asked if there's a Nobu in OKC. There's just something to that conduciveness to lifestyle for young, often Black, rich, and famous people, right? And so it's just an attractive market for NBA players. Many of them own homes here in the off season. The business of the NBA is kind of like centered here. I know the league office is in New York, but like most of the agents and, many of, like I said, a lot of the players, a lot of the trainers, like a lot of people are just based here. And so I think those advantages make the Clippers just a very attractive destination for NBA stars to want to come to.
What do you think was the best move they made this summer? We could talk about Brooke Lopez or John Collins or Bradley Beal or CP3. What do you think is going to bear the most fruit during this season? What were their biggest needs in your mind?
I mean, I tend to really like the Brooke Lopez move because it allows them to keep a certain defensive posture and character even when Zub sits.
Mm.
And like the kind of defensive drop off when Zub would sit last year was so obvious and manifest, especially when you watch the Denver series where I don't know how else to say this. I've never seen somebody guard Nikola Jokic better. He's the greatest Jokic guarder that's ever existed. I'm like
I like you didn't
AD
say stopper. You said guarder.
Gardner.
Yeah, not stopper.
I like it's Jokic is just too much to stop. But like, I'm sorry, he made the guy's life miserable. And in terms of like some of the best parts of Jokic's game is like there's just no fat because he's so decisive and he's always thinking like several moves ahead. But against Zub, you could see him like second guessing himself and wanted to take his time and needed to dissect and all of that stuff. I think having Brooke Lopez, keep that integrity and that character of their defensive posture I think is just so huge. And Bradley Beal is not going to be asked to do like meaningful things. And I think, there's a reasons to be positive and negative on it. I think Bradley Beal possesses within him the ability to be an excellent role player. Like I don't think it's like he doesn't have the physical capabilities of playing, competent defense. We're not asking you to go out there and be Chris Dunn, but like be competent, knock down an open jump shot, attack a closeout on defensive rotations. Like, like nobody's asking you to, go out there and build Noah's Ark or something, right? Like these things.
Yeah, he's like the fourth or fifth best guy on this team. Like they don't need much.
It seems pretty reasonable what they're going to ask him to do. The only drawback I would say is like Bradley Beal has never demonstrated himself to be a sort of glue, hyper competent, elite role player. He's never demonstrated his desire to be that kind of guy. But yeah, and also just John Collins. I think I'm the last person still on the John Collins bandwagon. I was just super high on this guy.
Hey, Clipper Nation they've wanted him for years. This is a
5 years
godsend.
ago, I was like semi-obsessed with John Collins and what he could be, and then he broke his wrist and like stopped making jump shots at a certain point. I think he made jump shots at a way better clip last year, not the craziest volume, but it's just so encouraging. I think, again, to give both sides of it, to be a little bit balanced, I think most people would be like, well, there's a reason why he was available. But I continue to be optimistic about just his positional versatility. Like if you want to get freaky, you can play him at the 5. He's very comfortable at the 4. When things are going right, he stretches you out. And I think he has like a switchability in terms of guarding down. And he plays with a physicality. Like this guy plays hard. This guy plays with a motor, and I'm still a fan of his, even if he's never realized the potential that I thought he had maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
How do you feel about CP3 backing up James Harden, Chris Paul, who played all 82 games last season for the Spurs somehow?
I mean, Chris Paul has never been on a team that he didn't help. Like he's just literally been a positive addition even this late into his career as a point guard, which is basically, besides John Stockton, is completely unheard of. And I see no reason to think he won't be a net positive for this team, especially when you consider the price and just, how do you not just assume that he's going to contribute if and when he's ever on the court? Like to me, it's just a question of durability for him more so than can he help.
Same with this player to a larger degree when it comes to workload. Do you still think Kawhi Leonard can be a number 1 on a championship team?
I mean, I think what he showed in the playoffs this year is pretty damn close to that, to be honest. It's tough because number ones kind of come in different shapes and forms. I think about I think about a Jokic in 2023 where Murray was just so much better. I think asking somebody to do more than that is, I think, too much, especially Kawhi at his age. But I don't know. I think with the right compliments and a deep enough team and an ability to pick his spots, I don't see why not. I don't think he can go out and do what Shea Gilgeous-Alexander did in the playoffs over the course of 4 rounds, where he's just literally having to soak up every single possession and create every opportunity for himself and others. Like, that's just a lot to ask of somebody. I think what Jokic had to do this year in the playoffs is just too much, in terms of a lack of rest, just no real other place to have an offensive hub on a given possession. I don't think you can ask Kawhi Leonard to play that way and say that his team is going to win the championship. But a more well-balanced roster, if he shows what he showed in the playoffs last year, why can't they get to the finals? Just think about Halliburton and what he brings to his team. It's not as if, he's clearly their best player, but he's not doing what Shea does, right? But that's because the nature of the roster is so complementary to his strengths. It allows him to be a different kind of superstar. It allows him to carry a different kind of load than the more obvious, heliocentric, if you will, approach that a lot of different superstars have had to take. And so, I think it just depends on the roster that they build around him. I know that sounds like a cop-out a little bit, but I don't think it's impossible. Let's just say that.
So if it's not impossible, and you mentioned these two teams earlier, and you could take them or see them beating OKC in a series, meaning the Denver Nuggets or the Houston Rockets, how much further behind are the Clippers in that Western Conference hierarchy of teams that could challenge the OKC Thunder? Where do you have them in terms of contender?
I mean, I would say if they're fully healthy, they're not that far behind. I just think James Harden at 36, the level of offensive contribution that you need from him, I think is just kind of the weak point. Like, in a playoff series, he has to play close to 40 minutes or 35 and above. And he has to shoulder a scoring and distribution burden that I don't know that he's up to the task of being as good as what I believe Houston, OKC, not even I believe, we know what they're capable of doing, in Denver as well. I think they're going to be able to get to a level that's just just higher, just a tier above what I think the Clippers can, because Harden is still at the fulcrum of shot creation for everybody else.
He is Big Waz from The Ringer. They do fantastic work. Appreciate you doing this, and you guys, the way you keep everybody informed and entertained. It's like it's a safe haven from hot take NBA stuff. The Ringer. Big Waz, I appreciate everything you do. Thanks for doing this on Clippers Talk.
Of course, man. Obviously, just reach out to me anytime. It means a lot that you would say that, because I would say that's kind of what we aim to do. Like, try to give our listeners something to think about, while also just trying to have some fun with it, man. So I appreciate the words, bro.
Putting the conversations in the proper context, as always. Big Waz from The Ringer. Thanks again, my friend.
Peace.
I know you guys enjoyed that here on Clippers Talk. That was something we had in the works after he made those initial comments talking about SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That was a few months ago. I actually retweeted the video I pulled from him talking with Zach Lowe. And I just wanted to give you a new perspective on that. That's not just me saying, hey, this trade made all the sense in the world. There's no reason to look back. But with OKC winning the championship, it's also hard not to address the elephant in the room. We did so with Brian Seaman last week. I think that was last week. I feel like I took a full week off for the first time since the start of last season. It has been that long. And we're not done with this show just yet here on Clippers Talk. But again, a big thanks, Big Waz, for coming on. Really cool to have him. Great conversation. You learn a ton listening to these guys on the ringer. Him, Rob Mahoney, Bill Simmons, Zach Lowe, even though, yes, I gave Bill Simmons some grief for that take about the Clippers, what they're up to in 2027. I am definitely a tier one listener of the ringer and all their NBA content there. So speaking of, we saw this come out, and we don't have a lot of content with the Clippers right now, but we saw yet another one. This was a jersey leak, and we've had a few of them, and it seems like it's getting closer. It's getting closer. We're going to find out for sure that it's official, but it sounds like this is the new City Edition jersey, unless this is AI, and you always have to be careful nowadays. There's tags on it. This looks to be real, and it looked to be what was rumored all along, that it was going to be orange, that it was going to be a throwback to the 2018-2019 City Edition jerseys. And I can remind you what those were, because there was more going on there within the design and the message that they had. I ended up finding the old post from Clippers. Yes, it was called Twitter back then. So the LA word mark, and I'm guessing it's like that for the same reason now, was inspired by the 1984 Olympic Games. Stars in Motion was the name of the logo commemorating the Clippers' inaugural season in Los Angeles. There was also, and I don't know if this will be the case because it made sense that it was at this time, there was a Ralph Lawler signature. The jersey was honoring Ralph, voiced the Clippers for 40 years. That was his final season with them in 2018-2019. The 5 stars on the side. Each side of the jersey represent the 5 Olympic rings. The Team USA, the color scheme, was inspired by the 1984 USA basketball team uniform, which won gold at the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. So when they're going back to this jersey, it appears to include pretty much all that stuff. Obviously, the Ralph Lawler homage doesn't look like that's happening. He's no longer broadcasting with the team, but he is one of our favorite Clippers. He's on the Clippers Mount Rushmore, of course, but that was special because it was his final season. But outside of that, you still have the stars. You still have the LA logo in the same way. The color pattern is different. And I don't know if the orange, this is going back to the Buffalo team. I know it's kind of divisive. I wasn't that big on the original ones from 2018, 2019. Some loved them. Those were people's favorite jerseys. I actually like this more. And maybe it's because I'm a sucker for the color orange because of Michelangelo and the Ninja Turtles. It was always one of my favorites. But I really like this. If this is the design, it's not official yet. It's just another leak. I'd be totally happy with this because I think it serves a couple of different purposes. You see the stars on the side. Well, the Clippers are hosting the All-Star game at Intuit Dome this season. And then in 2028, with the old kind of 1984 Olympic LA logo here, we got the Olympics back in LA in 2028, and the basketball games are going to be at Intuit Dome. So it's a reminder of that too. So I think it's twofold for why they wanted to do this again, maybe. We'll see. If it's this color, I'm all for it. I know it's different, it's bright, but it's an alternate jersey, and that's kind of what you're looking for. Something that is very non-traditional. People talking about, damn, I miss Sweet Lou. We all do. Love Sweet Lou Williams. Something else. I don't know if you guys missed this today. I can't stop laughing I started the show with this. It's just another Kawhi gem. And this came from Tomer Azarli. Listen to this. Kawhi overseas in China speaking with a reporter.
I say, wet ball.
Okay, actually,
How I say, wet ball.
wet what?
Wet ball. That's a basketball term that I use when I.
Okay. So he's asking, how would he say wet ball in Chinese?
How I say, wet ball.
Wet what?
Wet ball. That's a basketball term that I use when I shoot the ball and I know it's going in. I say, wet ball.
Okay, actually,
And this has people freaking out. Of course, it's Kawhi. Unintentionally hilarious sometimes. Just his delivery, it's different than anybody else. We love him for it.
I say, wet ball.
okay.
I know it's going in. I say, wet ball.
You can be sure broadcasters this season in Brian Seaman and Carlo Jimenez will be saying wet ball plenty.
Use when I shoot the ball and I know it's going in. I say, wet ball.
It's so good. It's just so good. Very, very excited. Kawhi Leonard, healthy offseason, traveling the world. Currently in China, it looks like there was some tape out there of him dunking. Got bounce, looks fresh, normal offseason, can train the way he wants to. Nothing better than that for Clipper Nation. Before we get out of here, something of more of a personal note to me. So I complain often when there's a show that comes out after a long hiatus, say Arrested Development, season 4, after it had been gone for a good 10 years. It came back and it wasn't the same. Or a remake to a movie you used to love. They remade Karate Kid with Jaden Smith. No thanks. Or just a long-awaited sequel like with Happy Gilmore 2. Didn't work for me. Here's something that did recently. It is extremely rare that a band that's been around for over 30 years is still good and still putting out quality records. Some might say for this band, they're having like a second peak, a resurgence. I've never seen anything like it. They might be the most consistent band ever. And while I don't care for all of their albums, I don't think they've ever had a bad album. I don't think they've ever embarrassed themselves. Sometimes they go into a genre that's just not for my taste. It's too metal and not melodic enough for me. I'm talking about the band from my hometown, Deftones. The Deftones just put out a new record called Private Music, and it is incredible. And I am very critical and very harsh and over scrutinize things like this, even though it's art and it's subjective. I still feel like you can tell when a band is mailing it in or they just are taking a paycheck. And to their credit, they've never done that. They've always put in the work, whether or not you love the record or not. There was a lot of effort put into it. And this record, Private Music, is incredible. I have to say, it is. Their first record came out in 1995, the Deftones with Adrenaline. I was listening to them then. They were my idols. I used to try to sing like Chino. We'd cover some of his songs. I used to be able to scream. Can't really do that anymore, especially with the radio thing. I'd lose my voice. This record, though, is just, it's so atmospheric and melodic. It's nostalgic, but new and fresh all at once. It touches on their past work and then springs forward into the future, it feels like. Their music has been so timeless. I can't believe what I've seen the last 5 years with all these young kids into the Deftones. Like their first album, Adrenaline, didn't go platinum until 10 years after it came out. Seemed like people started to catch on. My favorite is Around the Fur, but I didn't like it as much when it first came out, but it grew on me. For most people, it's White Pony, but then later it's the Japanese named one. Premonition of Love is what it means. Koi, I forget the name of it. But this new one, it's perfect for me. It's just, it sounds like classic Deftones while at the same time giving you something completely new all at once. It's this contradiction in ways where, just like with Chino, he can scream like a banshee, but then he can also sing the most sweetest stuff ever. It's a throwback record, but also it pushes their music forward. It's familiar, but it's foreign. It's modernized. It's just a masterclass. It's them mastering their craft, maybe. I'm not going to say it's their best record, but for them to put it out 30 years from when I first started listening to them and say it's like a top 5 record of theirs, this was their 10th. Private Music is incredible. And you can really hear their influences from The Cure and Tears for Fears stuff coming in. Ecdysis, track 3 to track 4, Infinite Source, the transition there, and those 2 songs in particular, that's like 2 of the best back-to-back tracks I've ever heard. Honestly, it's so good. And every time it sounds like they're going to a place that's a little too metal for me and not melodic enough, they pull it back and they get back to some sweet melodies. I don't know. It's just, I am stunned. I am in awe of this album, Private Music by the Deftones. I'm going to the show in San Diego. Day of the Deftones. I've never seen them live. It's crazy because they've been my favorite band, but I missed them a couple times, even though I lived in Sacramento. I had plenty of chances. I just blew it. So I'm definitely going to see them in November. I'm just really inspired by this record. Honestly, it kind of proves Koi no Yoken's the name of the Japanese one, the Premonition of Love one that people love. I am really stunned at this groundswell of support that have taken them into the mainstream, like well after their heyday. Their heyday was like White Pony in the early 2000s, and now they're way more popular than that because all the kids love them. I guess their music is that timeless. It's really special thing to me because it's from my hometown, and just the rarity of seeing any artist be this good for this long in any field. It's just really, it makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to stay sharp. Really cool. And the album's less than a week old. Not getting paid to say any of this, just happy for the guys and to be a supporter of this band for so long that is still doing it and doing it at this high of a level. Really, really cool. Kind of like an older Clippers team. Has a chance to do something special at an older age, for athletes at least. Thanks again to Big Waz for coming on here on Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland. We'll visit with you guys soon.